What better way to start a Friday night is with all of you on the Cat Shack, along with my co-host Dean.
Hi, how you doing?
Why do you do that whole introduction like that?
Because
Can you
why the
just
fuck
say
not?
hi normal?
Hi. Is that normal enough for you?
No, just say hi. How hard is that?
Hola.
Hola. All right, so here we go.
So we pull into my parents' driveway, and my dad raises beef cattle, and he has his whole life, or my whole life, whatever. We pull in one night, and we get out the car, and we hear this rustling, and then bang, 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 bang.
Oh.
So what the hell is that? We go inside, and we're sitting in the living room with mom and dad, and you can hear it still through the windows every great now and then. She goes, "What is that?" I looked at dad and I looked at her. I go, "That's dinner." She's like,
And I was
"Huh?"
starting to then think about it more and
She
more.
started to cry
Not just cry.
because
I was
dad
ugly
had
crying.
2 cattle loaded up to take in for beef. And
And
when I
pause that.
said that's dinner for a second time, it clicked with her. And she goes,
Yeah, I would not make a good farmer. I was literally ugly crying. We ordered, what was it, last winter? We ordered half a cow
"Yeah."
and completely different than what you buy in the store. And we had this huge deep freezer filled with ground beef. And I'm thinking, we are not going to go through all of that. Sure enough, we did. I'm very thankful. And
One of those many times I kept telling her, "Trust me, I know what I'm talking
well, I
about."
really didn't think we were going to go through that much. But so, yes, people are like, "Oh, well, you buy beef in the store and everything. What's so different?" Because the moo are right in
And
front. Like I see them.
once again, another instance where I told her, "You'll see."
And I felt horrible because I knew they're going to take their last ride.
Last ride.
I don't know how you did it growing up because there's no way. All of those
I don't
cows
know
would
how
have
I did it growing up.
no, because all
I
those
helped dad
cows,
load them in,
they
and
would have
I
been my
I
pets.
reaped the benefits every dinner.
Yes, your mom just told me a story the other day
What?
about how you used to invite your friends over for free dinner.
Oh man.
And I was like, well, he thought it was free because it wasn't costing him anything because he figured there's all the meat that's right there. So it's free.
Oh what, Ma? We got plenty. Come on.
She's like, yeah, you would
We
invite
got
your
more
friends
outside.
over for dinner.
We got plenty outside too. We're fully stocked. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I still can't get over the difference from the store to family raised.
That's called processed, honey.
And you know what? I think one of these days I would actually like to talk to different farmers around here.
I think that'd be a really good idea. Here's the thing. We've got a lot of citizens in this country that they're on certain levels of, I don't know what the word I should use is, but I'll say it like this. We got our firefighters.
Right.
We got our police officers. We've got our EMS, our doctors, you know. We've got
Like all the basics.
farmers. Okay, a lot of the accolade goes to firefighters and police officers, and it should.
Yeah.
It absolutely should. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't know what the quote unquote statistic is these days. I know that years ago it was said that farming was the number one most dangerous job there is to have.
Why so?
You are working with machinery day in and day out that can and will kill you in an instant. not just the machinery. Let's look at how many farmers lose their lives in freak accidents inside of grain bins. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with a grain bin. When you get inside, you have to climb up to the top. Number one, that's 200
Scary as
feet in the
hell.
air
Right.
at the very least. You know, you have to climb up to the top when it's full to get inside of it.
So they actually have to go inside.
There are times you have to go inside there. Okay. Now, whether it's beans or it's corn, um, in an instant, it can have a quicksand effect and it'll suck you in. Okay. You think about drowning.
Right.
Okay.
Terrifying.
It's a terrifying way to die. You know what I'm saying? They say that drowning is the most pain-free, quick way to die,
Which I
if
don't
I have that
understand how.
correct.
Yeah.
You know, it's comparable to that because you're drowning in seed corn.
But now, why would the person have to go inside there? For what purpose? Because I never knew that. I knew people go up there, but I didn't know that they would actually have to go
So
inside.
when you're emptying a grain bin, it is run by an auger down at the bottom in the very center. Okay. And it's basically gravity is what's emptying at. Okay. Your auger, think of a drill bit.
All right.
Okay. There's a hole in the center of the floor in the grain bin. And once that auger is turned on, what it's doing is it's like I said, like a drill bit. When you drill, it's shaving but pulling back.
Okay.
That's turned on and it pulls the grain outward. Okay. And when it does that, think of like your like an hourglass kind of. As all that sand falls, it creates like a funnel
Mm-hmm.
from the middle outward. So on the outside it's higher. Down in the middle it's lower. So it's like it's like that. And as long as that auger is running, that seed is still it's coming out, but it's also pulling down. Okay. You can get into a grain bin and you can walk around in there and you're gonna go up to your knees.
Now, have you been in there?
Oh, many, many, many times.
Because I know, like, at your parents, they have that. But I remember you showing me when it was empty. So I've never seen it full.
So here's the thing. Just one reason why someone would have to go inside is, for example, with a sweep auger. Say stuff isn't quite falling. You're outside and you're watching your auger go to the truck or whatever the case may be. And the volume that's coming out isn't what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go in there and you got to help it. Okay.
Now,
Whether
are
it's
they
what-
harnessed or anything like going
whether-
in there? Like, have you, because has your dad,
On a
like,
private farm, no. And or at corporations like grain elevators,
yeah, they
like
probably
big
would be.
corporation grain elevators, or even these small corporations like around here.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's supposed to be a two-man team. The guy that goes down in and the guy that stays at the hatch, and the guy that goes in is supposed to be harnessed.
That's scary.
Because there's been a lot of deaths. That has taken a lot of people here in Andrews.
Yeah, I remember that. That was what was it? It was probably more than, was it around 4 years ago? 5, maybe 4?
I can't
Think.
remember, but there's been a lot. So that's just one reason why. I mean, here's another reason. When I was a teenager, we were working the field, and Dad had me pulling the drag up and down the field.
Okay.
A drag is basically what you're pulling behind a tractor is square frame steel frames, and on each one has, say you got your frame, right, and there's rows
Mm-hmm.
of rod, and they all have these spikes that stick down.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Okay,
Okay.
you're dragging the field to work the dirt, take out the clumps, make it finer, right? Well, as you know, on my dad's farm, we use old tractors as well as newer.
Mm-hmm.
So I was running an antique tractor that day, and it was an older drag. And coming out from the hitch, because I think it's three or four different frames. Okay, once you get to the field, it folds out, right?
Right.
And you got your chains, you got your tongue, and then you got chains that go to the outside ones.
Okay.
All right. Because I was on an antique tractor, for those of you that don't know, an antique tractor, you're basically sitting on the back, you're in the wide open, and there are a lot of times there's no fenders. So I happened to take a turn a little too sharp,
Tip.
and the right wheel just snagged that chain. And when it did that, it pulled it up, and it pulled that frame completely up.
Ooh.
And I noticed at just the last second, I looked over and went, oh shit. Went like that. It pulled that last frame up,
Oh
turned
my
it
God.
inside, and there was spikes right in the center of the steering wheel.
So you got very lucky.
I got very lucky. I'd have been dead like that.
And I don't think a lot
and
of
that's my
people-
fault. That's my fault. You know what I'm saying? Because of, well, for one, I was a teenager.
And still probably learning two different things.
Yes and no. But here's the thing. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets complacent. I don't care what your job is or what you're doing. Everybody does it. Okay. That was a mistake. That could have been a lethal mistake. You know.
But I think around here, we don't really think about giving the farmers credit. It's kind of like, wow, yeah, the fields are down, they're putting stuff up or they're putting winter, crops in. But I see how much your dad works day in and day out. And he's how old?
80.
And to be doing that for that long, I mean, all the time between taking care of the cows and the fields and all that is just
It's a very thankless job, to be honest with you. And for decades and decades, I mean, even let's go back to the 60s when my dad was in high school, and still today, it's not just a thankless job. It's a job or career or a way of life, really, that is looked down upon.
when they're the ones that make all of it possible for us
Yeah.
to live everyday life.
We've all seen the meme, thank a farmer
Mm-hmm.
for supplying your food. When you sit down to eat dinner, thank a farmer.
You know what made me think about that? When we watched Yellowstone, it was last Sunday's episode,
Hmm.
when Beth was on her way to go see Rip and she was speeding and that and
And
she
she
got
got
yeah, when
pulled
she
over.
got pulled over and the cop told her to thank her husband and she's like, "Well, why would you say to thank my husband?" And so it was because she said because we knew like what's all involved. Like,
She said because around here we know what it takes to put that steak on your plate.
yeah, and that's the truth. And that all of a sudden like really made me think of, your dad and all the other farmers around here, like, wow, that is really true. Because I wouldn't have that dedication like day in and day out and long hours like that, all sorts of weather.
It's dedication, it's perseverance, and also farming is the biggest gamble you can get into.
With the weather and how it all plays out.
It's a fact.
We want to thank all of you farmers out there or families that help with, the farmers, because without you guys, we all would be in a worse spot. We'd have probably no clue what to even really do, honestly. So, on that note, what else is going on?
I don't know.
You don't know. I mean,
You
come on.
started me up, baby.
You're my co-host. You're supposed to have other things to talk about too.
Well,
What would you like to talk about today on a Friday night?
sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby.
Oh, okay. Next question. So what else would you like to talk about on a Friday night?
Rock and roll, drugs, and sex, baby.
All right. So on that topic, do we have another one? Anybody?